It's Christmas. It's Christmas. It's Christmas.
The holiday season sparkles with joy and laughter, but for some, it's the loneliest time of the year, a mirror reflecting the emptiness they feel inside. Have you ever looked at the world celebrating around you and wondered, why doesn't this happiness feel like mine? Today, let's talk about humanity's biggest enemy, loneliness. Hi beautiful souls, welcome to Lighthouse灯塔. I'm Shirley. This channel is about uncovering the invisible barriers that hold us back, whether it's from happiness, purpose, or living authentically. Together, we explore the thoughts we often avoid, break free from those mental cages, and create lives that feel a little more unbreakable. Loneliness, we all felt it. Some admit it, others hide behind smiles and distractions. But for many, loneliness cuts deeper during the holidays. It's a bittersweet reminder of what we wish we had: connections, belonging, warmth. Today, I want to share a story, a moment when loneliness wrapped itself around me like a cold shadow. A moment that forced me to confront life, death, and the space in between. It was my first Christmas in Canada. I was a graduate student living in a school dorm. The dorm was simple. 3 units in the basement, my roommates and me in one, and 2 others shared by some boys. We weren't close, but we were friendly enough to say hi or share a meal in a school cafe. It was just a normal day. After class, I walked back to my unit, but something was different. Police cars lined on street, and officers were everywhere, but no one would tell me what was going on. I went inside, confused, and as I was about to close the door, I saw it like a long white bag. The officers were pulling it out of the boys' unit. I froze at first. I didn't understand, but later my roommate told me someone in the next unit had died. In the smell in the hall, it had been his body, unnoticed for days. The next day, I learned the full story. One of the boys in the unit had taken his own life. His roommates didn't even know he was still there. They thought he'd moved out. I couldn't process it. I'd never seen a dead body before. I couldn't stop thinking about him. Someone so close, yet invisible. How could no one notice his absence? And how could I not? That Christmas, I couldn't shake the guilt. I didn't know him, had never spoken to him, yet I felt responsible. What if I'd reached out? What if someone had noticed his pain? I remember sitting in a noodle shop with my ex on Christmas Day, and the streets outside were alive with holiday cheers, lights sparkling, and children laughing. But I felt I was behind a glass wall, watching a world I couldn't be part of. That night, I chose to stay in my sadness. I feel like it's the only way to honor his life. If I joined the laughter, it would feel like I was moving on without him. It was the first time I felt a sharp awareness of loneliness. It was the stark realization that I existed in a completely different world from everyone around me. A world filled with sadness, sorrow, and regret. While the city sparkled with laughter and joy, I was drowning in the weight of questions and grief. And I knew with painful clarity that there was no way for me to fit into that happiness unfolding outside. Loneliness often disguises itself with anxiety, the urge to scroll endlessly on your phone, or a desperate need to feel the silence. It keeps you moving so you don't have to be still. It keeps you busy so you don't have to face your darkness. But for that moment, there was no hiding. I was forced to sit with the truth. Someone had been so isolated, so unseen, and they disappeared from life without a ripple. That was also the moment where I felt loneliness is different and deeper than we think. It's not just boredom or isolation, it's a clear divide between them and me. It forces you to see the world differently, to question life in ways you never did before. That night, loneliness brought me face to face with my own fears and desires. It made me think about life and death, and how the world moves on even when someone's story ends. But loneliness isn't just pain, it's also clarity. It's like a bitter whiskey, hard to swallow, but it forces you to sit with your truth. It strips away distractions and makes you confront what's been hiding in your heart. That night, loneliness didn't just visit, it rooted itself deep in my heart and soul. For the first time, I felt the raw clarity of my own emotions, my unanswered questions, my silent desperations. It pulled me out of the glittering illusions of happiness, the noise of gifts and festivities, and placed me on the solid ground of truth. In that void, there was no room for pretenses, just an unfiltered mirror reflecting who I was, what I feared, and what I longed for. It wasn't comfortable, but it was real. In that stark honesty, I began to understand myself in a way I never had before. Loneliness is a mirror we often avoid, for it reflects the truth we've buried, the desires we've silenced, and the parts of ourselves we're too afraid to confront. In solitude, without the distractions of the world, we're left alone with our own thoughts. Yet within this discomfort lies its greatest gift, the chance to listen deeply to ourselves. Loneliness asks us the questions we've long avoided. What am I hiding from? So that Christmas, I came to understand that my sadness and guilt were not just about him, they were about me too. My fear of invisibility, the unbearable thoughts that my existence, my emotions, my very being might pass unnoticed, like a ghost drifting through the world. I longed not just to belong, but to be truly seen, to know my presence mattered. Yet what unsettled me even more was the world's relentless rhythm, gliding forward as if my grief were invisible, leaving me frozen in time while life moved on. In the tension between being unseen and being left behind, I confronted the raw truth of my humanity. It was uncomfortable, lonely, but deeply alive. But perhaps loneliness is not the enemy we believed it to be. What if it's a teacher, urging us to pause and reflect, to ask the question we avoid in the noise of daily life? Who am I without the masks I wear? In its silence, loneliness offers clarity. It forces us to see not just the voids in our lives, but also the potential within ourselves to fill them. It teaches us that we are not defined by the world's indifference, but by our capacity to find meaning, even in the hollowest of moments. Loneliness is not a punishment, but an invitation to confront your fears, rediscover your desires, and build a life that feels real and unshakable. Because in the end, the only way to truly belong in this world is to first belong to yourself. And perhaps, as you embrace the solitude and its truth, you'll discover that loneliness is not just an emptiness, but a pathway. a bridge to the most profound connection of all, the connection with your own soul. Thank you so much for watching. That's everything I like to share today, some random thoughts about loneliness. If you like this video, make sure you like, subscribe, and share with someone who might like it as well. Until next time, stay empowered and strong. I'll see you in my next videos.